Aaron was only a small boy when it happened. His village was quiet, far from the noise of big cities. People there lived simple lives, working in the fields by day and resting under the stars by night. Aaron loved those nights most of all. He would lie on the grass, staring at the sky, wondering what was hidden among the glowing dots above. His parents told him the stars were too far away, but Aaron liked to dream. He imagined people living up there, people who could fly across the universe. One night, the dream became real. Aaron woke to a loud sound that shook the ground. It was not thunder, and no storm was in the sky. The sound came from the forest at the edge of the village. He rushed to the window and saw a flash of light vanish among the trees. His heart pounded with both fear and excitement. Most children would have stayed in bed. But Aaron was different. Curiosity pushed him forward. He put on his sandals, slipped out of his small home, and ran quietly through the fields toward the forest. The night was cool, the crickets sang, and the air smelled of smoke. When he reached the forest, he saw broken branches and a trail of scorched earth. Something had fallen from the sky. He followed the marks until he reached a clearing, and there, resting like a giant beast, was a strange silver ship. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Smooth metal walls, faint lights glowing along its side, and steam rising into the night air. Aaron's eyes widened. His heart raced. Then he heard a soft cry. Near the base of the ship, lying on the grass, was a girl. She looked no older than him, maybe a little taller, with silver-like hair that caught the moonlight and skin that seemed softer, smoother than any human's. Her clothes shimmered like woven starlight. She was holding her arm, breathing heavily, her eyes filled with pain. Aaron forgot his fear. He ran to her side. "Are you hurt?" he asked in a shaky voice. He didn't expect her to understand, but he couldn't stay silent. The girl looked at him, blinking slowly. Her eyes were large, brighter than jewels, glowing faintly. She spoke words he could not understand, soft and broken. Still, her voice carried kindness, not anger. Aaron didn't know what to do, but he remembered how his mother treated him when he was hurt. He tore a piece of cloth from his sleeve and wrapped it gently around the girl's arm. She winced, then gave a weak smile. "Safe, thank you," she whispered. The words were strange, but Aaron understood enough. For the next hour, he stayed with her. He brought water from a nearby stream, held her hand when she trembled, and even tried to make her laugh by pointing to the stars and naming them. She listened quietly, as if his small voice gave her strength. Finally, the ground shook again. More lights appeared in the sky. Another ship was landing nearby. Aaron grew afraid, but the girl squeezed his hand gently, as if telling him not to worry. Figures stepped out from the new ship, tall people wearing bright armor. They rushed toward the girl, speaking quickly in her strange language. Before they carried her away, she turned back to Aaron. She placed her small hand over his, her glowing eyes locked onto his. "Promise, see again," she said slowly, struggling with the human words. Aaron's throat was dry, but he nodded quickly. "Yes. I promise. One day, I will marry you." He didn't know why he said those words. He was only a boy, and marriage was something far away, something he hardly understood. But at that moment, it felt right. It felt true. The girl smiled, a soft, tired smile that shone brighter than the moon. She repeated his name after he whispered it, then let herself be carried by her people. The ships rose into the sky, and in moments they were gone. The forest grew silent again. Aaron stood alone, staring at the empty sky. His heart was full of wonder, but also heavy with longing. He had met someone from beyond the stars, and he had made a promise. He didn't know when or how, but he swore to himself that he would keep it. From that night onward, whenever he looked at the stars, he no longer saw them as distant lights. He saw them as a place where she lived. The princess from the sky. Myra. And though years would pass, that memory never faded. Years passed after the night Aaron met the strange girl from the stars. The memory stayed with him, sharp and bright, as if it had happened only yesterday. He was no longer a small child but growing into a young man, yet he often found himself thinking about her. Her silver hair, her glowing eyes, her faint smile before she left, it all lived inside him. Most boys his age forgot their childhood adventures, but Aaron could never forget. He had made a promise, and in his heart, it was more than just words. The villagers, however, thought differently. Still dreaming about stars, Aaron, old men would tease him when they saw him lying in the fields at night, staring at the sky. Maybe one day the sky will answer him, children laughed, running past him. Aaron never argued. He let them laugh. He knew what he had seen. He knew she was real. At home, his parents grew worried about him. His father wanted him to focus on farm work, while his mother reminded him that life was about the earth, not the sky. But Aaron's heart pulled him upward. Whenever he saw a falling star, he whispered her name softly, Myra. When he was old enough, Aaron began to study more seriously. He borrowed books about the stars, planets, and the new colonies humans were building far away. The world outside his village was changing quickly. There were rumors of distant contact with alien travelers, though nothing official was spoken in the news. Governments kept secrets, and people argued whether aliens even existed. But Aaron didn't argue. He didn't need proof. He had already met one. Every night, he read under a small lamp, trying to understand maps of the stars, trying to guess which world might be hers. He didn't even know her name until much later, when he remembered the faint sound she had made as she left Myra. He repeated it often, as if speaking it kept her close. The years stretched on quietly. Aaron grew taller, stronger, his face sharper, but his eyes always carried the same longing. The promise guided him like a hidden flame. Many in the village thought he was foolish. Friends encouraged him to forget, to live a normal life, but Aaron shook his head. Some promises, he said simply, are not meant to be broken. Still, silence from the stars was heavy. 10 years passed, and no sign of Myra came. Aaron began to wonder if she even remembered him. Perhaps she had returned to her world, surrounded by people, forgetting the small boy in the forest. The thought hurt him, yet it never destroyed his hope. One summer evening, Aaron sat alone on the hill outside his village. The sun had set, and the first stars began to appear. The night air was warm, filled with the smell of grass and the distant sound of insects. He lay back on the ground, staring up. "If you can hear me," he whispered softly, "I have not forgotten. I will find you. Even if it takes my whole life." The sky gave no answer, only silence. But in that silence, Aaron felt something inside him grow stronger. He would not stop. To get closer to his dream, Aaron made a bold choice. He left his village and traveled to the city. There, he joined a small academy that trained young people in astronomy and engineering. Life was hard, money was little, and many nights he went hungry. But he did not give up. His teachers noticed his determination. He was not the smartest, nor the fastest learner, but he was steady, and he worked harder than anyone else. When others gave up, he stayed late, studying the stars. "What drives you so much?" one teacher once asked him. Aaron only smiled and said, "A promise." The teacher laughed, thinking it was a joke. But Aaron's eyes showed no hint of laughter. As the years in the academy passed, Aaron learned how ships worked, how space travel was done, and how human colonies were built on distant worlds. He heard more whispers of alien civilizations hidden in the far reaches of space, though no human had confirmed them openly. The knowledge made him restless. He wanted to leave Earth, to search the stars himself, but he was still young, still without the power to choose. For now, he had to wait. Yet every step of learning, every star map he studied, made him feel closer to Myra. One night, after a long day of study, Aaron walked alone outside the academy. The city lights glowed behind him, but above, the stars burned brightly. He stopped in the empty street and closed his eyes. "Myra," he whispered again, "I don't know if you remember me. But I will come to you. One day, I will stand by your side. That is my promise." For a moment, he thought he felt a gentle warmth, as if the night itself was listening. He opened his eyes, but the sky looked the same. Still, he smiled. For promises are not measured by time. They are carried in the heart, waiting for the day when the universe itself opens the path. And though Aaron did not know it, far beyond the stars, a princess still remembered the boy who once held her hand in the forest. It was a quiet morning in Aaron's village when the sky broke open. People were in the fields, tending to crops and animals, when the sound came deep, powerful, like thunder rolling across the heavens. The earth shook lightly, and everyone looked upward in fear. A great light was cutting through the clouds, brighter than the sun, descending slowly. Children screamed, and older men shouted for everyone to run. But Aaron did not run. He stood still, eyes wide, his heart beating faster than ever before. He had seen such a light once before, long ago, as a child. His mind raced back to the forest, to that night, to the silver-haired girl who had left him with a promise. Could it be? After all these years, could it really be her? The ship landed in the open fields, flattening grass and shaking the air with a low hum. Its silver surface gleamed, smoother and brighter than anything human hands could build. The villagers gathered at a safe distance, whispering nervously. Then the ship's door opened. From the glowing ramp, figures appeared, tall, elegant beings in shining garments. They moved with grace, not like invaders but like travelers of higher worlds. And then, among them, she appeared. The girl from Aaron's memory. But she was no longer a girl. Her silver hair flowed longer now, shining like threads of moonlight. Her skin still carried that otherworldly softness, her eyes glowed faintly, but her face held a maturity that spoke of years lived. She was no child anymore, she was a princess in full. Aaron's breath caught. His chest ached with the sudden rush of emotion. She was real. She had returned. The villagers gasped and murmured, unsure whether to bow, hide, or stare. But Myra, yes, he was certain now, her name was Myra, stepped forward with calm authority. She looked across the crowd, her gaze steady, searching. And when her eyes landed on Aaron, she stopped walking. For a moment, the world fell silent. Aaron felt his legs weak, but he forced himself to step forward. The villagers called after him, warning him not to approach, but he did not listen. His eyes locked with hers, and he knew she had not forgotten either. "Myra," he whispered, barely loud enough to hear. Her lips curved into a soft smile, just like the one he remembered as a boy. She raised her hand gently, as though greeting an old friend. "You remember," she said in careful human words. Her voice was richer now, smoother, but still carried that same warmth. Aaron nodded quickly. "I never forgot." The villagers gasped at his words. Some whispered, shocked that Aaron knew the alien princess. Others stared in disbelief. But Myra only stepped closer. "Long ago," she said, "a small boy promised me something." Her eyes shone, and her voice carried across the field. "I have traveled far, across many stars, to see if that promise still lives." Aaron swallowed hard. The promise. The words he had spoken without thinking, yet had carried with him his whole life. He took a deep breath, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "It lives," he said. "I promised I would marry you. And I still hold that promise." The crowd exploded with noise. Villagers shouted in shock, some laughed nervously, others argued. But Myra raised her hand, and silence fell again. Her people behind her also grew still, watching closely. She looked at Aaron for a long moment. Then, softly but firmly, she said, "I have not forgotten either." Aaron's chest swelled with relief and wonder. After all these years, after all the silence, she had remembered. But Myra's expression grew serious. She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. "Aaron," she said gently, "promises are powerful, but they are not simple. My people are not like yours. To stand with me means to walk a path full of trials. Are you ready for that?" Aaron looked into her glowing eyes. He thought of the long years of waiting, the nights under the stars, the endless dreams of finding her again. His heart had never once turned away. "I am ready," he answered firmly. Myra studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. A hint of pride filled her expression, and for the first time, she allowed herself to smile more openly. "Then come," she said. "Walk with me. Let me show you my world." Behind them, the villagers still buzzed with disbelief. Some were afraid. Others were amazed. But no one could deny what they had just witnessed: the alien princess had returned, and the boy from their village had been chosen. As Myra led Aaron toward the ship, whispers followed them. People wondered if this was a blessing or a curse, a miracle or danger. Yet Aaron did not hear them. His heart was too full. He glanced up at the sky one last time. For so many years, those stars had been only distant lights. But now they were a doorway, and he was about to step through. The ship's doors closed behind him with a soft hum. The villagers watched in silence as the craft rose into the sky once more, carrying Aaron away. For Aaron, the years of waiting had ended. The silence had finally broken. The promise was alive. And his journey was only beginning. The ship carried Aaron high above the earth, into the vast darkness of space. He sat by a clear panel, staring out at the stars that seemed closer now than they ever had before. His heart raced, not with fear, but with wonder. For so many years he had dreamed of this moment, and now he was living it. Myra sat across from him, her silver hair glowing faintly in the ship's soft light. She watched him quietly, as if studying every detail of his face. Finally, she spoke. "You have grown," she said in her calm, gentle voice. "But your eyes are the same. They carry the same fire as that boy in the forest." Aaron smiled faintly. "And you have become more than I imagined. You are not just a girl anymore. You are a princess." Myra nodded, but her expression turned serious. "A princess, yes. Which means my life is not my own. To stand beside me, Aaron, is not simple. You must face what others will not." Before he could ask, the ship shuddered softly. "We are here," Myra said. Through the panel, Aaron saw a world unlike any he had ever imagined. A planet wrapped in shining rings, glowing cities spread across its surface like clusters of stars, and great silver towers reaching toward the sky. Ships moved in perfect lines above, glowing trails marking their paths. It was a vision of beauty and power, far beyond human cities. "This," Myra whispered, "is my home." When they landed, Aaron felt the weight of alien eyes upon him. Tall figures in elegant robes lined the halls, their expressions calm but sharp, their eyes watching him as though measuring every step he took. "They do not trust me," Aaron said quietly. "They do not trust humans," Myra corrected softly. "To them, you are still a child species, young, untested, fragile. They wonder why their princess would return for you." Aaron felt the weight of her words but stood tall. "Then I will show them." That same day, Myra led him to the council chamber, a vast hall with walls of crystal and floors that shone like mirrors. Around a high table sat the council of nobles elders with stern faces, their robes marked with golden patterns. One of them rose, his voice deep and firm. "Princess Myra, you bring before us a human. You speak of promises, but promises made by children mean nothing to us. Why should this boy stand at your side?" Myra answered calmly. "Because he is not just a boy. He is the one who gave me hope when I was lost. He carries the heart of his people." The elder shook his head. "Words are easy. Let him prove it." Another council member, an older woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward. "Let the human face the trials. If he succeeds, we will see. If he fails, he returns to his world, and this matter ends." Myra's hand tightened slightly at her side, but she nodded. "Very well." Aaron stepped forward. His voice was steady, though his heart pounded. "What must I do?" The first trial was of courage. He was taken to a chamber filled with shifting illusions. At first, he saw darkness. Then images appeared, giant beasts with teeth sharp as blades, shadows rushing at him, storms tearing the ground apart. His body shook, but he remembered Myra's eyes watching from beyond the chamber. He stood firm, refusing to run. When the illusions ended, the elders nodded in silence. The second trial was of honesty. He was brought before a device that glowed faintly. Myra explained softly, "It can sense truth. They will ask you questions. If you lie, it will show." The council asked many things. Why had he come? Did he seek power? Did he want glory? Aaron answered simply, with no hesitation. "I came because I made a promise. I do not want power. I do not want glory. I only want to keep my word." The device glowed pure white at his answers. The council members exchanged quiet looks. The third trial was of selflessness. He was placed in a hall with two paths. On one side, a vision of Myra appeared, calling for his help. On the other, a vision of a stranger, wounded and weak, cried out in pain. He could only choose one. Aaron paused, his chest heavy, then walked toward the stranger. "Myra is strong," he whispered. "She can stand on her own. But this one cannot." He lifted the vision of the stranger, and as he did, the illusion vanished. The council members watched in silence. When the trials ended, Aaron was weary, but he stood tall. Myra walked to his side, her eyes shining with pride. "You see," she said to the council. "He is more than you believe. He does not pass by strength, but by heart." The council leader rose again, his voice less harsh than before. "The human has shown qualities rare, even among our own. Still, the path will not be easy. Many will not accept him." Myra lifted her chin. "Then let them see what I see." Aaron looked at her, his heart steady. The trials had not broken him, they had only made his promise stronger. And though the council still doubted, Myra smiled. For she knew the boy who once held her hand in the forest had begun to show her world the true strength of humanity. The days after the trials were not peaceful. Although Aaron had passed the tests, not everyone in Myra's world accepted him. Some of the nobles whispered in the great halls, questioning why their princess would keep her promise to a human. Others argued that if Myra joined with Aaron, it would weaken their traditions. Everywhere Aaron walked, he felt the weight of stares. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with disapproval. A few even turned their backs completely. Myra stayed close to him, but even she could not quiet the voices of doubt around them. One evening, in the royal gardens, Aaron sat on a stone bench. The air was filled with glowing flowers that opened only under starlight. He was thinking of home, his small village, his parents, the simple life he had left behind. He wondered if he truly belonged in this shining world of towers and councils. Myra came to him, her silver hair catching the light of the garden lamps. She sat beside him silently, then asked softly, "Do you regret being here?" Aaron shook his head. "No, I waited for this all my life. But, your people do not see me as you do. They see only a human." Myra turned her face toward him, her eyes glowing faintly. "They see you as a threat to what they know. But in time, they will learn. I will stand beside you." Her words warmed him, but danger was closer than either of them realized. That night, in the council chambers, a group of nobles gathered in secret. Their leader, a tall man with sharp features, spoke with anger. "This cannot continue. Our princess binds herself to an outsider. A human. It is shameful. If she joins with him, it will open the door for weakness, for change we cannot allow." Others murmured in agreement. One woman's voice was cold. "If words will not stop them, then action must." They planned carefully, whispering in the shadows. Aaron's presence had stirred fear, and fear often gave birth to betrayal. The next day, Aaron was walking through the city with Myra. The streets were filled with tall towers of silver and crystal, and citizens bowed as the princess passed. Aaron tried to stay calm, but he felt out of place among the alien crowds. Suddenly, a shout broke the peace. From a high balcony, a figure threw down a small glowing sphere. It struck the ground near Aaron's feet, bursting with a blinding flash. Smoke filled the air, and people screamed. Guards rushed forward, pushing the crowd back. Myra grabbed Aaron's hand, pulling him close. When the smoke cleared, no one was harmed, but the message was clear: this was a warning. Myra's face was pale with anger. "They dare strike at you here. The opposition grows bold." Aaron's voice was calm, though his heart beat fast. "Then let them come. I will not run." That night, the king summoned Myra and Aaron to his throne hall. His face was stern, his voice heavy with concern. "You must see the danger," the king said. "There are those who will not accept this union. Already they plot in the shadows. If you continue, war may rise within our own kingdom." Myra's voice was strong. "Father, I cannot break a promise. I will not." The king looked at Aaron. His eyes were sharp, searching the human soul. "And you, boy? Do you understand what stands before you? To stay means to risk not only your life, but the peace of this world. Are you prepared for that?" Aaron straightened his shoulders. His voice carried no fear. "I am prepared. A promise means nothing if it breaks when tested. I will stand with Myra, no matter what comes." The king studied him in silence, then nodded slowly. "Your words are brave. But bravery alone may not be enough." In the days that followed, tension grew thicker. Whispers turned into arguments in the council. Some demanded that Myra step away from Aaron. Others began speaking of removing him by force. Despite the danger, Aaron and Myra grew closer. They walked the gardens, shared stories of their worlds, and dreamed aloud of a future where their people stood side by side. For Aaron, every moment reminded him why he had waited all those years. For Myra, every moment strengthened her belief that humans carried a hidden strength. But outside their moments of peace, shadows gathered. One night, as Aaron returned from the library, footsteps followed him. He turned down a quiet hall, and three figures stepped from the shadows. Their faces were hidden by hoods, their voices low and sharp. "Human," one of them hissed, "you do not belong here. Leave now, or you will not leave alive." Aaron's heart raced, but he stood firm. "I will not leave. I made a promise, and I will keep it." The figures moved closer, but before they could strike, Myra's guards appeared, weapons raised. The attackers fled into the darkness, vanishing before they could be caught. When Myra heard what happened, her anger shook the room. "They dare threaten you in my halls. This will not stand." Aaron placed a hand on hers, his voice steady. This is the price of a promise. But I will not turn away. The conflict was rising, and the storm had only begun. In the halls of power, some whispered of rebellion. In the streets, fear spread. And in the heart of the kingdom, a human and an alien princess stood together, refusing to break the bond that tied them across years and stars. The trials had tested Aaron's heart, but now the true test was before him. Not illusions, not devices, but the will to face a world that wanted him gone. And though danger pressed close, Aaron's eyes did not waver. For he knew that promises, once made, were meant to be kept even against the weight of an entire world. The kingdom was quiet, but the tension in the air was thick. Aaron and Myra knew the opposition was growing stronger. Rumors of rebellion whispered through the streets, and many nobles openly questioned the princess's choice. The peaceful halls of the palace had become a place of hidden threats and secret plots. One evening, the king summoned Aaron and Myra to the royal chambers. His face was grave, lined with worry that had grown over many years of rule. The vast room glimmered with light reflecting from crystal walls, but no decoration could hide the seriousness of the moment. "You must understand," the king said slowly, "choosing to stay with you, human, is not just your decision. The safety of the kingdom rests upon my shoulders. There are factions ready to rise against you both. I must give you a choice." Aaron's heart sank slightly, but he looked at Myra. Her silver hair glowed softly in the light, and her eyes held trust and determination. He drew a deep breath. "What choice, father?" Myra asked firmly. The king's voice was heavy. "You, Aaron, may return to your world, live a simple life, and forget this promise. Myra will continue her life as princess, and the kingdom will be safe from internal conflict. Or, you may stay, stand with her, and face the storm that will come from those who oppose this union. If you choose the second path, your life will never be easy, and danger may come at any time." Aaron felt the weight of the words. He thought of the boy he had been, the night he had met Myra in the forest, the promise that had guided him through years of waiting and learning. He thought of all the trials, of the dangers he had already faced, and of the trust Myra had placed in him. He did not hesitate. "I will stay," he said firmly. "A promise is not meant to be broken, even when it is difficult. I will stand with Myra, no matter the cost." The king studied him, eyes sharp as a blade, searching for fear or doubt. He found neither. Aaron's voice and posture were steady, full of courage and sincerity. Slowly, the king nodded. "Then you understand," the king said, his voice quieter now. "This path will not be easy. Many will oppose you. You must be ready for trials that even the strongest of us may fear." Myra stepped closer, placing her hand on Aaron's. "You are ready," she whispered. "I can feel it. Together, we can face anything." Aaron smiled faintly, but his heart was serious. "I have waited for this all my life. I am ready to face what comes." The next days were filled with preparation. Myra's people watched closely as Aaron trained with their guards, learning their customs, practicing their skills, and showing the humility and patience that had already impressed many. He was still human, still limited in physical strength compared to them, but he had something they could not measure: courage, loyalty, and a heart that refused to falter. Meanwhile, the opposition grew louder. Messages of disapproval filled the halls. Nobles whispered about rebellion, about human weakness, about the princess's foolishness. Some even suggested that Aaron should be removed by force. One night, as Aaron walked through the palace corridors, a figure approached him from the shadows. A council member, hooded and speaking in low tones, warned him. "Human, you have chosen the dangerous path. Do not think we will allow you to stand beside her. Choose wisely, or the consequences will be yours." Aaron stopped and looked the figure in the eye. "I have already chosen. My promise is my guide. I will not turn back, no matter what comes. The figure hissed in anger and disappeared into the darkness. The very next day, Myra brought Aaron to a high balcony overlooking the city. The streets below were quiet, but he could sense the tension among the citizens. Many watched from afar, unsure of how to react to the human who dared stand beside their princess. You see, Myra said softly. They fear change. They fear what they do not understand. Aaron nodded, looking over the city. Then we must show them, he said. We will not run. We will face them with honesty and courage. Myra smiled. Yes. That is why I trusted you from the beginning. You are ready to walk this path with me. That evening, the king held a private meeting with Aaron. The path you have chosen, he said, will be tested in ways you cannot yet imagine. But courage, loyalty, and heart qualities you have shown may carry you further than strength or power alone. Remember that. Aaron bowed. I will remember, my king. I will protect Myra, and I will honor my promise. The king nodded again, a small smile touching his lips. Though the danger had not passed, he saw something rare in Aaron, a human strength that refused to bend, a determination that could endure even the storms of opposition. As the sun set over Myra's world, painting the towers in gold and silver light, Aaron and Myra stood side by side. The choice had been made. The path would be difficult. Opposition would come, and challenges would rise. But together, they were ready. For Aaron, the boy who had once promised a child alien in a forest, the ultimate choice had been clear. To honor a promise, to stand by the one he loved, and to face a world that doubted him, that was the true test of courage. And as Myra took his hand, the stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself acknowledged the promise was alive, and the human heart was ready to meet its destiny. The day had finally come. After years of waiting, trials, and challenges, Aaron and Myra stood together before the people of the kingdom. The palace was alive with light, the towers gleaming in the morning sun. Citizens from every corner of the city had gathered to witness the union of the human and the alien princess. Murmurs of doubt had turned into curiosity, and curiosity had slowly turned into hope. Aaron stood tall, his hand holding Myra's firmly. His heart raced, but this time it was not with fear, it was with joy. After so many years, the promise he had made as a boy was about to be fulfilled. Myra looked radiant, her silver hair shining in the light. Her eyes glowed softly, not with power, but with warmth and trust. She had waited for him just as he had waited for her, and now, the moment was theirs. The king approached, his expression serious but proud. Today, he said, we witness a promise kept, a bond that has crossed years and stars. This union is not only between two hearts but between two worlds. Aaron felt a quiet smile spread across his face. He glanced at Myra, remembering the night in the forest when they first met. Back then, he was a small boy, full of curiosity and wonder. Now, he was a man who had faced trials, danger, and doubt, and had come through stronger than ever. The ceremony began simply but beautifully. Myra's people lined the hall, their eyes filled with awe and respect. Many had doubted Aaron, but as they watched him stand confidently beside the princess, their skepticism began to fade. They saw not just a human, but someone who had earned trust, courage, and love. Myra took Aaron's hand and spoke, her voice clear and gentle. Years ago, a small boy made a promise. Today, he stands before me, keeping that promise. I have waited for him, and he has waited for me. Together, we honor our bond, and together, we will face the future. Aaron's voice carried clearly as well. I promise to stand by you, to honor you, and to protect you. I have waited all my life for this moment, and now I will keep that promise for the rest of my life. The crowd was silent for a moment, struck by the sincerity and strength in their words. Then, slowly, applause and cheers began to rise, spreading through the palace like sunlight. As the ceremony continued, Aaron and Myra exchanged simple tokens of their bond: a ring made from silver from Myra's world and a small charm from Aaron's village. It was a reminder of where they had come from and the promise that had guided them across years and worlds. Outside, the city watched in quiet fascination. People whispered in wonder, realizing that the human and the princess were not only united by love but by courage and faith. Those who had once doubted began to see that promises, once made, could endure even the hardest trials. After the ceremony, Myra led Aaron through the palace gardens. The air was filled with the fragrance of glowing flowers, and soft streams reflected the light of twin moons. They walked side by side, their hands still joined, speaking quietly to each other. "You kept your promise," Myra said softly. "Even when the world seemed against us, you did not turn back." Aaron looked into her eyes, his heart full. "And you kept yours. You remembered me all these years. You waited for me, just as I waited for you." She smiled, her glow brighter in the night air. "Now, we face the future together. Whatever comes, we will face it as one." Aaron nodded. "Yes. Together, always." In the weeks that followed, Aaron adapted to life in Myra's world. He continued to learn their ways, earning respect and friendship from those who had once opposed him. Slowly, the kingdom began to see that humans, though different, carried strength in courage, loyalty, and heart. The bond between the two worlds grew stronger. Myra and Aaron worked side by side, showing their people that trust, promises, and love could unite even the most different of beings. One evening, standing on the highest tower of the palace, Aaron looked out at the stars. They stretched endlessly across the sky, each one a reminder of his journey, his promise, and the child who once dreamed under the open heavens. Myra joined him, her hand in his. "Do you remember that night?" she asked softly, her eyes reflecting the stars. Aaron smiled. "How could I forget? That night began everything. It led to this moment, to you, to us." She leaned gently against him. "And now we will face the universe together. No matter what comes, we will keep our promises, and we will build a future together." Aaron held her hand tightly, feeling the warmth, the trust, and the bond that had survived years, trials, and doubt. Yes. Always together. Above them, the stars shone brighter than ever. For Aaron and Myra, the promise made in the quiet forest so many years ago had finally been fulfilled. The boy and the princess had found each other again, and their hearts were bound across time, space, and worlds. And as they looked at the endless sky, they knew that no matter what challenges the future held, they would face them side by side, guided by courage, trust, and the enduring power of a promise kept.